Whoa. All right, welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. Started off with a little technical glitch. I love it when that happens, but that doesn't matter because we have the most amazing, tremendous, stupendous guest speaker tonight. I cannot wait to bring him on. You already know his name. It's Mike Wolf. He's my buddy. He's my pal. He's such a great, golden-hearted individual. That's the only type of people I bring onto this show. That's it. Those like Mike Wolf, because, you know, it's all about giving. It's all about giving and serving, and Mike is the epitome of that, and we'll find out more about that as we get deeper into the show. But first, the Mind Body Business Show. What is that all about? I mean, mind, body, business. You see, they all go together, and in my now 54 years on this planet, I have seen, experienced, read, and learned things where I began to notice that all successful entrepreneurs and business people seem to have this pattern that develops. They always have this pattern where they have mastered that one thing called mindset. Mindset is the baseline, the cornerstone, if you will, of everything that follows. If your mindset is solid, if your self-talk is solid, if your attitude is solid, and if you've done this and made it so that it is programmed at a deep, deep level, in the subconscious level, then you have mastered the art of positive mindset. And the key is mastering. And the same thing is with body. Body, what is that? Well, it's about being sure you're exercising, you're taking care of yourself, you're eating properly, you're eating clean, the right nutrition. You know, it's interesting that I've read several times that over 50% of all disease can be attributed directly to the lack of exercise. Isn't that interesting? And it really doesn't take that much. But exercise and good nutrition, you get the mind and body in alignment, and now you are set. You have set the table, so to speak, for success. And now it's time to then move into the realm of business. And by business, I mean mastering sales, marketing, team building, systematizing your business, scaling and growing your business, many facets of business. And when you've mastered all three of these, it's like a tripod. It's like a tripod. You have three legs on a tripod holding up something, a camera. And what would happen if you took one of those legs away? It would come crashing down, wouldn't it? And the same is true with mind, body, and business. If you haven't taken the time to master, or at least start working on and be actively working on all three, then that tripod is in danger of being out of balance and coming crashing to the ground. So that's what this show is all about. And that's the good news. The good news is I bring on people like Mike Wolf, who is going to share with you some insight of someone, i.e. him, who is extremely successful, and we're going to find out what makes him tick. And what you will find are those patterns bubbling up, those patterns that come up. Now, each show doesn't cover every single mind, body, and business topic, and I honestly don't know which ones we will cover tonight, but do know it will cover one or two of them minimally, and you are going to get a ton of value from it. And that reminds me about value is there was a time many years ago where I was sitting in the office of a CEO, a multimillionaire. He invited me there, flew me out there. The story is on a page we'll talk about later, not going to go into that now. And it, you know, a huge corner office. His office was bigger than most people's homes. It was one of those. And this is an amazing and successful guy. And he looked at me at one point. I'm sitting on his couch in his office, and he said, "Brian, if people only knew, if they just did this one thing, if they just did this one thing, they would become successful and rich." His word was rich. They'd become rich. I said, "Oh, okay, I'm ready. Tell me." And so he turned around, he walked away from me toward the back wall. There was a cabinet there, floor to ceiling and double doors. He opened both doors. And as he opened them, he looked coyly back at me. And what I saw was similar to what you see behind me right now. Is shelf after shelf after-shelf of books, personal development books, business books, you name it, self-help books. Everything was in there. And he said, all people have to do is read. And I have to admit, I made a huge mistake because I did not heed that advice for years. Not 4 years, for many years. Many years I did not heed that advice. And thankfully and luckily and a blessing bestowed upon me was another mentor came into my life. And not only did he say something very similar about reading books and you'll become successful, he also showed me by example, because I ended up working with this gentleman for a few years. Incredible man, mentored me. And I watched as he'd walk around with a headset on, always listening to books, constantly. I said, finally, okay, I get it. I'm going to start modeling success. I'm finally going to wake up, put on my big boy pants, and get reading. And so I started doing the same thing. I started listening to books on Audible. I had never done that before. And I found that, my gosh, no wonder I didn't read, because I love to listen much more than I do to actually read the physical words on the page, because that literally would put me to sleep. I'd get too tired and I'd say, I can only read like 5 pages and I'm ready to go to sleep. And so I began reading voraciously using Audible. And a really cool thing happened is I realized that I could set this up and start listening to it in my car while I'm driving. A time when I would normally not do really anything that productive. Maybe listen to music and relax, which is a good thing to do. And I do that on occasion. But most of the time I'm in my car, I am listening to a book. And as a result of that, I've gone through quite a number of books in a short period of time. And the retention rate has been high for me personally. And a cool thing comes with Audible. This is an app that you can download from Amazon that you can, as you're cruising along, they make a nice big icon button that you can tap anytime you hear something of interest that you would like to go back to directly, and it's called a bookmark. And so I noticed I could hit these bookmarks and say, good, I don't have to listen to the whole 3-hour book or 4-hour or however many hour book again. I can go right directly to those points of interest at any moment, anytime I want. And so I thought, what a great idea. What I want to do for you right now is play one of those bookmarks. It's only a 1-minute segment. And the cool thing is these bookmarks, as I choose them, they actually pertain to the guest speaker you're about to see. So real quick, let's transition over into that wonderful segment I call Bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yes, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. You see it here over to my left, your right, if you're watching on live stream video. Do me a favor though, right now, just get out a note paper, a pad if you're able to, if you're not driving. I hope you're not driving and watching this, but you could be listening to this while you're driving, certainly. But definitely stay with us through the entire show. Take notes, write down like website addresses. Don't go to them right while we're talking, because I kid you not, you do not want to miss Mike Wolf when we bring him on. And it's coming very, very soon. I promise you that. Real quick, Reach Your Peak Library. I put this together literally for you. Entrepreneurs, this is my gift. This is a site where I compiled all the books I've been reading. There's the story I was alluding to. It's the long form of it, not the short abridged form I gave you. If you're interested, watch the video. But here's where you see the books begin. And I've put around 40 of them in there for now. I'm about 5 behind because I'm continuing to read, and somehow, some way, that website doesn't update automatically. And I just keep reading and reading and reading. You see a lot of phenomenal titles there, a lot of phenomenal authors. There's my mentor, Mel Cutler, right there. That big boom. I recommend every single one of these books. If a book had impact on me personally, it's in this library. So not every book I've read made the grade. And so for this, you are given a vetted, filtered list, at least that somebody read that got value and result from. And so if you're not a voracious reader, if you haven't started reading, this would be a great place to start. Pick any one of these books, any one of them that jumps out to you first, and just read it. And I've given you different links to get various different forms of the book, either Audible, hardcover, Kindle, whatever was available at the time. If it was there, I put a link to it. And that is my gift to you. And what I want to do now is switch over to actually play a bookmark from one such book. and that is from The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Phenomenally popular book. And his message in this particular snippet, again, it's about a 1-minute snippet in all, is very on key and on part to our special guest, who I'll bring on right after this. So go ahead and listen intently, get out that note paper, write some notes. I will be writing notes as well throughout the show. So go ahead, here we go, listen close.
Those of us who watched the lunar voyage of Apollo 11 were transfixed as we saw the first men walk on the moon and return to Earth. Superlatives such as fantastic and incredible were inadequate to describe those eventful days. But to get there, those astronauts literally had to break out of the tremendous gravity pull of the Earth. In fact, more energy was spent in the first few minutes of liftoff, in the first few miles of travel, than was used over the next several days to travel 500,000 miles. Habits, too, have tremendous gravity pull, more than most people realize or would admit. Breaking deeply embedded habitual tendencies such as procrastination, impatience, criticalness, or selfishness that violate basic principles of human effectiveness involves more than a little willpower and a few minor changes in our lives. Liftoff takes a tremendous effort, but once we break out of the gravity pull, our freedom takes on a whole new dimension.
Isn't that so true? Liftoff takes such energy, such focus, such devotion, such commitment. And for many folks, it's unattainable. It's too difficult. It's too much to bear, and for various reasons. And one would be, find help, get a mentor, get a coach. And when it comes to business, it takes a lot to change your habits, to get out of procrastination mode. And every step you take in the right direction is a step that takes you closer, and the momentum will build, and the more you'll be closer to that moment of actual liftoff. And again, once you hit that moment, my goodness, what a ride it is. Yes, and Mike would agree to that. He's over there smiling ear to ear. You can't see him, but I can. And this is going to be phenomenal. And without further ado, so that really defined to me part of the essence of Mike Wolf. Mike is an action taker. He lifts off, not just once, but over and over and over again. He's heart-centered. He's out helping people all the time. He's flying around the world consistently. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. So without further ado, let's switch on over and introduce our guest expert through the Expert Spotlight.
It's time for the Guest Expert Spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mike Wolf. Wow, wow, wow. I am so happy to have you here, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on. If you don't mind, I'm going to quickly introduce you to our audience, and then we'll get busy with some hard-hitting questions that I know everyone is going to get supreme value from. Mike Wolf is best known as a successful real estate investor, but he's also a serial entrepreneur, inspirational speaker, philanthropist, and freedom lifestyle mentor. Mike is also a passive income expert, I love that, and teaches others how to create a life that they love by putting money and wealth creation on autopilot. I love that too. He also loves to show entrepreneurs how they can work smarter, not harder. Mike's biggest passions are travel, spending time with his daughter and 2 grandsons, and traveling the world for fun and to do humanitarian projects. I mean, if that doesn't, in a nutshell, give you a great insight into the man, the myth, the legend, Mike himself, well, just wait. And by the way, we do need to wait for just a moment, because for those of you watching live, be sure to stay on to the end, all the way to the end, because you can then qualify to win a 5-night vacation stay at a 5-star resort in Mexico. And it's all given to us, thankfully, by our sponsors at powertexting.com. Jason Nast and his partner Rhonda. Wonderful that they've offered that to us. Jason himself just went on one such trip and reported back it was amazing. It was phenomenal. So stay with us to the very end. Now, to the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Wolf. How are you doing, buddy? It's been a long time.
It has been. It's been too long. Thank you for having me here. It's so good to be here. Good to see you.
Yes, so great to see you too, my friend. You know, I just read a little snippet about you, which does really accurately define you. It has to because you wrote it, I'm sure. But if you wouldn't mind, let's go a little deeper, and I want other folks to know you like I know you at a deeper level, and just let people know what makes you tick, what gets you up in the morning, and what kind of projects are you up to right now?
Oh boy, let's see. That's a tough question. What gets me up in the morning these days is a lot different than what used to get me up in the morning back in the olden days. And so, to answer your question, I've been on an amazing journey, amazing evolution. So, if you would have known me back in the olden days, like 15 years ago, I was a workaholic, and I was very passionate about what I was doing. So it didn't bother me doing all the work. It didn't really feel like a chore for the most part, but once you start to get kids, and especially when you get grandkids, you learn that working hard isn't, although it's what we're taught to do, it's not all it's cracked up to be. So I've learned how to work smarter, not harder, and use leverage, use other people's skills, and my businesses run better without me. So for the most part, most of the things that I do, so when you ask what I'm up to these days, I'm still obviously investing in real estate, but I have other people looking after my properties, collecting the rent, dealing with tenants. I have a company that sells turnkey investment properties. We sell those to investors all around the world, but my teams get the properties, fix them, manage them. So me personally, I spend a lot of my time doing volunteer work, humanitarian projects, and that's what really lights me up and gets me up in the morning is just helping others. And I've learned over the years that chasing money is important. It's a very important thing. It's just like oxygen, you have to have it. But chasing it is a lot different than putting it on autopilot, so it comes in passively, and so you have the time to do things that are really important. So in the olden days, I was really focused on making money. Now I'm really focused every day on creating happiness, joy, and fulfillment for myself. And what I've learned is that giving back and helping others is what makes me happy and feel fulfilled, not just going out and working long hours. So long answer to a short question.
And I was soaking up every word of it, writing notes. I hope our listeners are doing the same. Working smarter, not harder. How many times have many of you heard about that, but never really realized that as an actuality, as a reality in your life? We're talking to a gentleman who has, which is so exciting. That's why I'm so excited, because we have so much to learn from Mike and his way of doing and achieving just that. And I love how he talked about my businesses run better without me. You see, that's the mindset. That's one of the patterns I noticed on the business end of Mind Body Business is it's better to, and it's very intelligent, to build your company as if you were going to sell it with that mindset. Not saying you will sell it or have to sell it, but if you have the mindset of building it to sell, it's much easier to hand over your duties and everything you're doing to a team that you've entrusted and trained, and have them handle the minutia like Mike has done. And so he's reached that pinnacle. And the really, really good news is Mike loves helping people, and he has ways and means to help you if you so desire. At the end of this show, we're going to give you the opportunity to reach out and connect with him and see if he's a fit for you, if he can help you to also find a way to make turnkey money and just have it coming in while you're traveling and enjoying your life, doing whatever you want, so having it on autopilot. Who here doesn't want that? I mean, everybody wants that. And that's the thing I love about Mike. You actually reside, is your home in Canada? Is that true?
I am Canadian. I'm a very nomadic Canadian. So once again, I've had a pretty big transformation. Back in the old days, I had a very big house and fancy cars and all the toys and all that stuff. And that's what I was chasing. And over time, I've become very nomadic and given a lot of my stuff away. And if I can't travel with it, I don't want it. And so I know you talk a lot about books. So, this and my laptop have all, I got Kindle with all my books on it, Audible. All things that are important to me pretty much come with me everywhere I go. And so, yes, I am Canadian, but I spend a lot of time on airplanes, and probably this year, I'd say I've been to at least 30 countries so far this year and counting. So, because that's my passion. I love to travel both for fun, but also to give back and do humanitarian things, and once again, create happiness and fulfillment for myself. So I'm a Canadian who I guess got inspired by cold winters to not spend a lot of time there, and I became very nomadic.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, we were just talking right before the show. You had just recently returned from Europe, and I was watching you on Facebook. I love your pictures, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And where he is now is in Scottsdale, Arizona. So he's not in Canada. He's in the United States, helping out another entrepreneur, because that's the way he is. This guy he just serves. And here's the thing. A lot of people are chasing money. In the beginning, I think that's very true for probably most. Wouldn't you agree, Mike? I mean, without the money, how are you going to achieve and do what you're doing now? But you went through the process. You chased the money and then realized, you know what? It's not the actual money and the things that are important to me. It's whatever's important to you individually. And you found that, and you're chasing that with everything you have, with vigor. It's amazing.
Yeah, money's a lot like oxygen, and there's some people who say, they have this. You talk a lot about mindset, and they have this mindset where they're actually repelling money because they say, I don't really care about the money and it's not important. Well, it's kind of like oxygen. You kind of need it, and it's just like if you go on an airplane and they say that in the case of an emergency, the oxygen mask is going to come down from the ceiling, and put it on yourself first before even your kids. It doesn't mean you don't love your kids. It's just if you're not in a good spot yourself, you can't help somebody else. So for me to be able to give as much as I want, I have to be in a good financial position. So I think everybody needs to get themselves in a good financial position, and not by trading their time for money and being a workaholic like I used to be. It's by creating, finding ways to create passive income. But when you first start, yes, you're gonna have a lot more time than you're gonna have money, so you might have to trade a little bit of time for it. But as you go, leverage other people's skill sets, get other people doing the stuff that they're good at, they're passionate at. And like I said, my business runs better without me. The people on my team are better at the things that they do than I am. If you put me in their same position, we would fail. And so the business runs really, really good because my money is working for me and my team is working for me, but it's not myself trading the time for money anymore. And so that's something I had to learn over time. But trust me, back in the olden days, I traded a lot of time for money. And you don't really have to, but most people have to go kind of through that before they get to the point where they have the confidence and the ability to let go of the control and let other people do things for you. Especially entrepreneurs, we're all control freaks.
That is so true, right here. And card carrying member. Used to be, and that's the cool part about it. I mean, what a great analogy about the oxygen coming down. Put it on yourself before you help others. That is so true. Because you did that, you're able to go out and serve and help people and do philanthropic things, and travel the world and help and enjoy your life and give back. And that's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. You're one of the most, the very first time I met you, you were the most positive individual I had met in a long time. I mean, just the way you're looking right now, that's the way I remember you, with that smile, and you're just this calmness about you because you're there. You're at that point where, hey, I built the systems, I've trained the teams, and I've had my teams train my subsequent teams. And now everything is, like you said, autopilot. I'm sure you dip your toes in the water now and then to check and see how things are going, but you're a product of the product. The freedom is there. There's no doubting it. You have it. And regarding your mindset, Mike, and your positivity, when it comes to that, when it comes to maintaining that positive, productive, and some would say successful mindset, what do you do on a regular basis to sustain that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I'm always grateful for wherever I'm at. And so I practice a lot of gratitude, and I'm always thankful. Even when I didn't have a lot of, even back then, I was very positive and very grateful for what I had. And I wasn't really a person that wanted a lot of stuff. Like, even though I had the big house, I think I at an earlier part in my life, I wanted to justify why I was working so many hours. So I had to have the big house and the fancy cars. And you get those things and they light you up for a little bit of time. And then, a week or two later, it's kind of like a drug. You need a bigger, better toy to be happy. And now I'm at a point where I put myself in my happy place every single day. So if I woke up today and I'm in Scottsdale, as you mentioned, it's beautiful and sunny, and I'm actually one of those weird people that loves the heat. It's like 95 or 35 Celsius for my Canadian friends. It's very hot here. Most people don't go out in this weather. They stay indoors in the AC. I love this. So I'm in my happy place. But if I woke up today and it was raining, I might very well just go to the airport and find a place where I'd rather be, where maybe I'm more productive or can make a bigger difference. So I'm always putting myself in my happy place. So it's hard not to be positive if you're always putting yourself somewhere that makes you happy, where you're grateful to be there, and also having the freedom to know that you can change. Tony Robbins talks about changing your state, and you can put yourself in your happy place, put yourself in a state that makes you happy. But when you have financial freedom, you can take it to a higher level where you can even instantly change your environment and literally be in a different city, different country. So it's very easy to stay positive when you focus not just on making the money, but where your life becomes happiness centric, where you're chasing the happiness, the joy, the fulfillment. And so it's very rare that you'll see. And on top of that, I don't watch TV. I don't watch the news. I don't let all that negative crap come into my life. And that actually, I see a lot of people that watch TV a lot. They tend to be a lot sadder, a lot more negative, because it's the stuff that you allow into your head that really dictates how you feel. And for me, one of the reasons I love traveling, I love to see other people and other cultures. I don't just go and hang out on the beach all day, although I love the beach, but I love to go see what makes other people tick, and also see how, what can I bring to them to help them if maybe they're in a less fortunate position. And so all these things, being around positivity all the time, choosing who you surround yourself with, and what you allow into your brain. And that's why reading books is a lot better than, depending on the books you choose. If you're doing personal development books, a lot better than watching the 6 p.m. news every night. That stuff will just kill you.
Amen to that. Wow. I'm getting close to a page of notes already. Thank you. Because I say thank you to you on behalf of everyone watching and listening, whether they're watching live now, listening live, or later on one of the recorded video areas, or even on a podcast later on, because we also upload this to a podcast so folks can listen to this in their car. And it's phenomenal value. And we were talking about this off camera earlier, Mike, what a blessing it is to have a show like this, because I and my audience get to learn so many amazing things. There are little tidbits and snippets and big ones that I have learned over the course of doing this show, and I haven't been doing it that long. This is, I think, show number 17. And the amount of value, the amazing amount of value that people like you bring is it's mind-blowing. And what you just went through was almost every step of the E-Myth, really. I mean, everyone starts out as a technician, and in infancy, moves into adolescence, and then brings in their first person to work with them, and then they mature into being a manager of managers, and then let the business run pretty much on autopilot. And you've done all three. And in the book, he describes that it's almost essential for people to go through every step. And I can kind of agree with that, because if you're never a technician, if you just jump into management, well, how do you know how to direct those people you're managing on the tasks at hand, right? How do you manage them? How do you tell them to go and do things that you know nothing about yet because you didn't experience it yourself? So I can see that part of it. At the same time, I can see leapfrogging that as well if you've gotten enough general knowledge and you just hire those that do know how to do those. Absolutely. At the low technical level. Well, that's part of the beauty in having a mentor or somebody to coach you, because they could show you, as you mentioned, leapfrog. They could leapfrog you over that, where you don't necessarily have to go through all that, and you can find somebody. I'll give you an example. I was invested in a pub, and I'm still not an expert at pubs, but going back quite a number of years ago, I had this opportunity. A realtor friend of mine calls me up and goes, "Man, there's this pub and the guy is bleeding money. He just wants to dump it. He's willing to take like next to nothing to get rid of this thing." And so I happen to have a friend who does restaurants and pubs. He's an expert at it. And so I did a joint venture with him where I said, you know what, I'm not looking to create a job for myself. I don't want to work a single day in this pub, but I'm willing to put up the money if you're willing to do the work. And his passion
is being in pubs and restaurants. He loves that. That's his happy place. So for him, it was a win because he got to co-own a pub without taking a dime out of his pocket. For me, it was a win because I got to co-own a pub, not have to trade any of my time or learn to be an expert at it. And so to make a long story short, we owned it for about a year and a half, 2 years, sold it for a lot more money than what we paid for it. And I never did a day's work. So I was extremely happy and he was extremely happy, and we're still friends. And if another similar opportunity came up, we'd do it again because it was a great win-win. So I didn't have to become an expert at being a pub or go through the motions of screwing it up and losing my money. So you don't have to go through all that, but have somebody else who is an expert who's already been there, and you can save yourself a lot of grief and a lot of steps. And once again, work smart, not hard.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And so you have become at the pinnacle of the investor. That's, at the end of the maturity scale, so to speak. And I keep referring to the E-Myth because it's been referred to as the Bible of business, right? The business Bible. To some extent, it's just an amazing book if you follow it and learn to get to that point where Mike is as fast as you can without going through the stumbling blocks and trying to do it by trial and error, which is really what happens. And if you're just passionate, you want to start at the technician level because you love doing stuff, still get that mentor and coach. There will become a time, trust me, because I've been down this path myself, where you love it for a while, maybe for years, and then you start to get burnt out on it and say, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. I have to be able to serve more and more widely, and then you want to branch out. So whatever path you're on, Mike is a perfect guy to connect with because he knows it all. He's been through it. He knows how to avoid the pitfalls that most people have gone through, including himself. Have you been successful at every single step of the way, Mike, from the beginning till now?
I have had so many, especially early on. I mean, I made a lot of big mistakes, and the whole career I'm in right now, I mean, being a real estate investor that wasn't even on my radar. I got into it by mistake. It's a long story, but to make a long story short, I just happened to buy a couple of properties while I was working for the phone company trying to pay off my student loans. And I happened to have really good timing. Those properties went up in value considerably, and suddenly I figured out what I wanted to be when I grow up. So I did it totally. I got into it totally by mistake. But when you make money by a fluke, you can't duplicate it. So that was my problem. Is I started off on a really high note, made a lot of money on my first real estate transaction. And then after that, I managed to lose almost all of it on the next couple of real estate transactions because I didn't have the skill set, the mindset. I didn't have any of that. I just happened to get really, really lucky. But being back then, I was in my mid-20s, and my ego got the best of me. And I thought, I know everything there is to know about real estate now, clearly, because I made a good paycheck, and that was my downfall. So what I teach people, back then I was a know-it-all, and now I teach people be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. And that's why where we met in a seminar room. I'm always upgrading my skills and learning. And trust me, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I don't make the same mistake twice, so luckily. And but one of the things that I did after I managed to lose almost all my money is then I decided with what I have left, I'm going to hire a mentor and get somebody to show me the path instead of me trying to wing it. And made me very humble. I got rid of the ego. I became trainable and coachable, and that's why I'm still here today. And that's why I was invited to the show. If I would have kept going down the original path, trust me, you would not be. I probably wouldn't be able to afford the laptop that I'm on right now to be on the show. So yes, I made many, many, many mistakes along the way.
And there it is again, one of the patterns that just keeps cropping up. Every single successful entrepreneur I've ever met has not just had a coach, but they've paid for, they've invested in a coach to help them. And I'm doing it this very moment. I have a coach. I've had several. And every time I bring another coach in, I get up another level, another level, another level. I mean, think about it. The best sports players on the planet, let's pick basketball, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, they all have coaches. They didn't do this by themselves, not a single person. Tiger Woods, who's back on top of his game, at least for now, he's got coach after coach after coach, putting coach, swing coach, everything. And no one really, I mean, could we do it alone? Conceptually, conceivably, maybe. if we live long enough. But it's going to take a lot longer to do it on your own. You said the perfect word, Mike, was ego, getting that out of the way. And I think that's the number one entrepreneur disease, if you want to call it that keeps people from success, is the ego. They won't look out for help.
Yeah, you really have to get rid of it. And then the other thing really is that we can't see our own blind spots. And it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. Like you said, all these NBA players, they're at the top of their game, but they have other people still coaching them because we can't see our blind spots. And I'm very glad that I actually made some really big expensive mistakes early on, because that led me to having to get rid of the ego and be humble enough to go ask other people for help. Because I'm typically a guy that likes to help people. I'm not as good at receiving it, and I'm still not as good at receiving as I am at giving. I'm getting a lot better at it, but yeah, I look at some of those lessons as really helping me get on a much better path. So,
and there it is again. You're living. You're walking the walk. He just said, "I'm very grateful for those expensive lessons." That's the epitome of the being a grateful individual. Like you said in the beginning, that's what keeps you positive. How many people would say that that aren't going down this path, that haven't learned that an attitude of gratitude is so paramount, and that all it takes is a reframe? I mean, we have situations that occur to us. It's not the situation that builds us and forms us. It's how we react to the situation. And you are watching and listening to a gentleman who has mastered exactly how to do that. It's to look back on those that others would consider failures and look at them as learning opportunities and say, you know what, I invested money. It was worth every penny, because I wouldn't be where I am right now had that not occurred. And that's just amazing. Thank you so much for all this insight. This has gone a whole different path than I ever expected, and I'm loving it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't really expect a path, but this is phenomenal.
Yeah. It's fun.
Okay, you mentioned many wonderful things that have happened as a result of your success of being an entrepreneur. But if you were to pick, and this kind of puts you on the spot, but if you were to pick one favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur, what would you say that was?
Definitely the word freedom immediately comes to mind. It's just, I would be, it'd be very difficult for me to go back to being employed. And because a lot of times when I was within, when I worked for the phone company at one point, like I mentioned, I got my first degree. I went to university I went to work for the phone company to pay off these student loans before I went back for my second degree. And a lot of times I'd see things that could be done a lot better. And being the entrepreneur, my mind automatically wanted me to, I wanted to go tell the manager, hey, why don't we do it this way instead of that way? And I found out that people that are higher than you on the food chain in the corporate world don't really like that. They don't like when other people give them advice. So I think the biggest thing is just freedom, being able to do what you want, when you want, with whoever you want. And also there's no ceiling. When you work for somebody else, they dictate what the maximum amount of pay you're going to get is. They dictate when your vacation is. And so I just really like the fact that I get to call the shots. I get to just get to be where I want whenever I want to be there. And it doesn't start off that way. I know, when you're first starting off and you're building your own business, it can be really frustrating, and there's a whole lot of responsibility. And I know entrepreneurs quite often that a lot of them are my friends that are starting out, and they're saying, "Oh man, sometimes they wish they could go back to working their job, because it was just a lot less stress. They thought they were leaving for something less stressful." But once you get up and running, and once you learn the proper mindset and the proper skill set and the getting the right teams in place, once you have that running, then there's no turning back. Once you get that momentum and the confidence, but once you get past those hurdles. So to me, it's freedom. I know when I first started, I probably wouldn't have used that particular word, because it was maybe frustration would have been a better word back in those days. But really, once you get things going, and there's kind of that tipping point, which is also a great book, speaking of books, tipping point, where all of a sudden it goes from struggle to all of a sudden things get really easy, and then you got your freedom to do what you love.
Yeah, and I know so many that are looking and striving for that tipping point, to finally reach it and to say, I can see over the top and see the rest of the horizon now. It's such a struggle going up that hill for so many. And it's taking on not just listening to things that people like Mike Wolf say, but it's also modeling and putting into action exactly the things that Mike Wolf says, and really putting. So he's mentioned several things, and I recognize and understand that they're at a kind of a high level. But what you need to do is simply look for books with titles that match those topics he's brought up tonight. That's it. It's that simple. I mean, and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. Your coach for now could literally be books. Your mentors could be the authors of those books. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to invest your life savings into an actual coach right away. Although I would recommend it. I would recommend it. I've done it countless times. I've dipped down into credit. I've dipped down into debt as a result of investing in my future. And looking back, I have not one regret, not a single regret. Did every single coaching program go perfectly? No. Did I get results from every one of them? No. Did I learn an amount of information and value that cannot be replaced? Absolutely, every single time. And so it's just about getting out there and doing it, taking massive action, getting that lift off, getting off the ground, and getting off out into orbit where we all belong. Because at that point, we can be like Mike and serve and be there to do philanthropic, boy, that's a hard word to say, philanthropic duties as Mike is doing, and to live a life of what I like to call liberation. Freedom is a great word. To be liberated from everything that's been holding you back from whatever it is you want. And you're giving everyone hope, Mike, that needs it. You know, those that need it. Some may not need it. Some may already be there with you that are watching right now. It'll just solidify even firmer how they got there. And if you're watching, you're one of those, come on to the show. Open invite. Message me.
One of the things is, you know, if people would have known me back when I was in my mid-20s, especially back when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, nobody thought I was going to be successful. Because one, I was extremely shy. I was like the shyest kid in high school. Sit at the back of the class, never raise my hand, never say a word. Nobody thought I'd be successful. I didn't even think I'd be successful. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. I wasn't born with any special gifts, but everything is learnable. Everything is, and the big thing is take action, take little steps. Just get yourself out there, take those little tiny steps, get it, and celebrate your successes. Even if you have just a small little success, celebrate it, because we don't tend to take time to celebrate. And you know, I know a lot of entrepreneurs that have done amazing things. As entrepreneurs, I think we sometimes take our gifts for granted. We just think, oh well, this was our we just think it's easy because certain things that we have, not everybody's got those same gifts. And so just celebrate your wins along the way, be grateful for the gifts that you have. And every time you celebrate, take another little step, get some momentum, take that next little step. So it doesn't have to be, you know, a lot of people have this really, if you're a visionary, you see these really big, you know, huge dreams and of these things you want to create. Well, these big dreams are created by small steps or incremental steps along the way. So don't feel like you have to get to the top of the ladder right away. Get to the next rung. Then once you're on that rung solidly, get to the next one after that, and keep building and keep building. And so that's the key. So there is hope. You can do this. But even though you may be thinking really big, also think there's a power in thinking small too, and knowing what your next move is. And just make your next move, and get that momentum and confidence. And so that's really what got me out of my shyness, is I got more and more confident as I started to get successes. And I'm one of those people, the more people tell me I can't do something, the harder I'm going to try. And so, but if I can do it, trust me, anybody can do it. I was like the most ill-equipped person to ever be a successful entrepreneur. So, and I did it.
Yeah, and that's a great point about celebrating your successes, no matter how small they are. And it reminds me of one of the things I say in my workout video that it's a fitness program, but one of the things I say all the time is, you know, we are our own worst enemy, are we not? I mean, we're our worst critic. And if we don't reach the level that we thought we should reach, then we really beat ourselves up internally. And so I'd give the example of, well, if you're told to do 10 push-ups and you're only able to do 6, the natural tendency is to do a virtual kick yourself in the butt. Oh my gosh, you only did 6. What's wrong with you? Well, if you put everything you had into it, if you showed up, if you're focused, if you gave everything you had and you just could not do another one, then rather than kick yourself in the butt for the reps you didn't do. Instead, literally reach around and pat yourself on the back for those that you did do, because you showed up and you put in effort and you were going towards your goal. You're not always going to hit a home run every single time. Mike said it perfectly. You're not going to be able to make it all the way to the top instantly, right away. It never happens that way. And if you find a way, Mike or anybody else, then please let me know. But it takes iteration after iteration after iteration. And a key word that comes to my mind every time I hear things like this is just discipline. It's continuing every single day, day in, day out. Schedule it. Make it happen every single day. 1 inch toward the goal line every single day. So yeah, patterns, they're all here. Mike is giving you all the secret to success. I don't know if you've got that by now. He is giving you the secret to success. And if you haven't got it, you'll have the opportunity to go back and play this again, either video or audibly or on the website, along with words transcribed and everything. There'll be no way you can't get it if you go back and revisit this information a couple of times. It's all here. Everything is here. One-stop shop, it's Mike Wolf right here. If you want to become successful. Amazing, amazing. Wow, the time is flying. I just checked the clock. So normally we do this show about an hour in length. So Mike, are you cool with going 2, maybe 3 or 4 hours?
I'm here till you kick me out. So.
No, I would never, ever kick you out of anywhere. Never. But I do want to respect our viewers, for those that are regulars that know this is a 1 hour show. And so we're coming up upon it in a while. We have a little bit of time left. Just wanted to, I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. And one of those is with respect to your team. I'm really, really interested in that part of it, in building a team. Very few of the connections I'm connected with have actually gone to that step. I'm doing it at this very moment. I'm building my team. And I'm curious from you, Mike, what kind of culture have you cultivated in your organization, your team? And then how did you actually establish that culture, and why did you institute that particular type of culture? So 3 parts, no pressure.
There you go. So I have a very unusual culture within my company where my team actually bosses me around. So as an example, I've got a lady in Germany. She's my main person that does all my marketing. She kind of assists in just about everything besides the real estate. I got people on the ground that actually do the real estate, fix the homes, find the properties, all that. But in terms of the stuff, the admin stuff behind the scenes, she runs a show, and she is in charge of hiring people, a whole bunch of people in the Philippines, for example, India, etc., that are doing a lot of the technical stuff for my business. But unlike most businesses, I don't call her and tell her what to do. She knows exactly what she needs to do. So how I found her is, as you know, I volunteer for Brendan Burchard, who's a friend of mine. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's amazing. I recommend his stuff. But I volunteer for him at all his live events. And I know she was showing up at all his events. He teaches, one of his courses, he teaches online marketing. And she was showing up there. And then I went to this event for ClickFunnels, and she was there. And I saw this person's like spending a lot of time and money educating herself. And I knew she was coming from Europe, and she was flying to the United States to go to event after event after event to learn. And I thought, this is exactly who I want doing my marketing, somebody who's invested. And so I hired her. But unlike most businesses, I don't call her every day and say, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this. She knows what she needs to do better than I do. So she actually bosses me around. She sends me emails saying, Mike, remember you're supposed to shoot this video and send it to me. Where's your video? So my team actually bosses me around, not the other way around. They tell me what they need from me, and I give them independence to, she can hire people whenever she wants. If there's something she needs, she just hires them. She doesn't even ask me. If there's software she needs, she goes and gets it. She has my credit card. I make it so there's as little interruption to me as possible, so I can go do the stuff that makes me happy every day. So I have very few people that report to me, and it has to be something really major before they do report to me. So it's a very, very different culture. How I get my people is I look, like I said, for the people that are, I don't want somebody who learned marketing in university 20 years ago and doesn't know what social media means. I want people that are learning cutting edge stuff that, and once again, who would I be to tell her how to do her job when she is, I go to these events, I'm not even taking notes. I'm going there to meet the type of people I want on my team. I also go, every year I go on this cruise where a whole bunch of marketers hang out. And I'm mostly hanging out and having drinks and in the pool and enjoying the sun, but I'm also networking with these people that are investing in their education. And so that's how I pick people. I find people that are they're lifelong learners like I am, that are smarter than me, and I let them do what they're good at, what they're passionate at, and I give them the resources so they can hire who else they need to support them. And I take myself as far out of the equation as possible, except when they have to boss me around and tell me they need something that I neglected to do. So I hope I answered all your questions there.
Oh my goodness. Okay. The biggest golden nugget for me of the night right there was, that was awesome. That you go to networking events, not to take notes and learn the content that's there so much, but to look for the next person you want on your team. That is genius. I've never heard anyone else say that. Not a
works really well, because like I said, that that's really
goodness.
That's proof that they're lifelong learners, because especially she's flying from Germany to California, Germany to Texas, and it's a long way and a lot of expense for her. And so I know she's always cutting edge. She knows exactly what's going on. And one of the skills I really have to learn that I didn't have earlier on was, back in the olden days, I used to do everything myself, like a lot of people as a solopreneur. Then as I started to reluctantly hire people because I couldn't handle all the scaling and the volume anymore, I became a micromanager, and I spent just as much time micromanaging as I used to do doing the actual job. And then I learned, when I step away and I get people that they're in their genius and they're doing the things that they're good at, they're passionate at, we get way better results. I have a lot more spare time. I'm happier, they're happier. And so for all the entrepreneurs listening out there who are micromanagers, and I know we all are at some point, the sooner you shed that and get the right people on your team and step away from it, the happier you're going to be.
It's like a breath of fresh air. I'm telling you. And so I hope you don't mind, Mike. I'd like to let people know of a resource I recently came upon that makes what you just said much easier to do.
Please do, yeah.
From many vantage points, and that is to bring on what is called an apprentice. And what these are typically young individuals that are going through college, not necessarily always young. Their age ranges all over the map, but predominantly they're younger. And they're from the U.S., Canada, and other countries. 80% from the U.S. and Canada. And the cool thing with this is you can bring on an apprentice to help you in your business. It's an awesome strategy where it's a win-win situation where you get the help you need, especially if you're a solopreneur. This is a perfect place to start. And you get to help a individual get a good start. It's kind of like on-the-job training. They get to beef up their resume. They don't get paid a dime. They're an apprentice for a 3-month tenure. And on that 3 months, you give them tasks and you help them grow. And once a week, you have a strategy call with them, or they call it a feedback call. And I use those to coach them. I find out ahead of time, are you okay if I coach you and help you even farther? And of course, they say yes. So it's a wonderful give. It's not even a give-take, really. And I always address it as, just like you said, when you said they boss me around, I was like, wow, I don't let them boss me around so much, but, and I know you don't either.
Well,
you just have a discussion.
They're always telling me the things they're supposed to get to them. I'm the weakest link in my whole business, so.
But the cool thing is, this is not an employer-employee relationship, the apprentice program I'm talking about. It's really, I frame it this way when I talk to them, before I even bring them on. I say, we work together. You work with me, not for me. I just give them direction on the tasks and how to do them, feedback on them, and then coaching on the side, and I get the help I need. And it's just an amazing, and I'll tell you about it more, Mike, after the show's over if you're interested. And if you're interested watching the show or listening, just reach out to me and I'll tell you then. I'm not here to advertise anything, but it's phenomenal. And, just one final point is it costs you less than it would to get a VA from overseas.
Wow.
It comes down to the equivalent of $1.04 an hour, $1.04 per hour for you, the business owner. Or ultimately, you can get apprentices for life for free if you qualify, which I am now at that point because this is such an awesome thing. I've got 2 apprentices. I'm bringing on number 3 very, very soon. And so anyway, I didn't want to go too far down that path. We only have 5 minutes left, but you know what? We can go over. I'm fine with that. Because we do have, there's one burning question, Mike. This is a big one. And
Okay.
I know you don't know what it is, because I know you don't know what it is yet.
Uh-oh.
The thing is, it's a big one, and I love asking this of all of my guests. I've asked the same question of all my past guests, and it's interesting to see their response. I'll just say that, and it's a phenomenal, thought-provoking question. So if you need some time to think about it, then that's okay. I mean, just take that time when that when that time comes. Does that sound cool?
Sounds great. I'm excited to hear the question. I'm kind of nervous.
Are you ready for it?
Bring it on.
All right. Oh well. Just before that, I almost forgot. Just before that, those of you watching live, I almost forgot this, Mike. Those of you watching live, remember, in the beginning we said you have the opportunity to win a 5-night vacation stay at a 5-star resort in Mexico. Well, let's take care of that right now. Here is how you can enter to win, and we'll be monitoring this live on the show as you punch in the information. There are 2 ways. One is through a website, the other is by texting. Whichever works for you, pick it right now. If you're going to do it over a website, then go to this URL. It's reachyourpeakllc.com/vacation. Just ensure that the word vacation is all lowercase. Just the word vacation. The rest of it can be anything. Or if it's easier for you and you have a phone handy, go ahead and text the word peak. That's PEAK to the number 661-535-1624. Again, that's peak, PEAK, to 661-535-1624. Or go to reachyourpeakllc.com/vacation. Both go into a system that is driven. The engine is powertexting.com, and that is the sponsor of this very giveaway, this trip. And it's a phenomenal trip. And I'm leaving this up on the screen for a purpose, so you have time to get that information in. Type it in now, punch it in your phone, whatever it is, we'll watch it. And due to the time we have right now, probably announce the winner individually after the show. I will reach out to you personally when we determine who that winner is. I may be even feeling really generous and give away 2. How's that sound? Let's give away 2. What do you think, Mike? That'd be nice.
I think one of them should be given to a guest speaker on your show. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, who's which one?
Well, I got some ideas.
We might have a way to make that happen.
I'm entering.
All right, love it. So go ahead and do that, and good luck, and thank you for sticking on this long, and don't go away, because we still haven't asked that one burning question that Mike is probably now sweating over, literally, because
I'm really kind of concerned about this question.
Yeah. And here's the thing, now it's time, because here's the thing, I never do anything on purpose that would embarrass or make anyone look bad on this show, because it's all about lifting people up. And for you, Mike, it's definitely no different. And so you know, the answer to this question, it's impossible to answer it incorrectly. It's impossible. The only correct answer is your answer. That's it. It's a very personal question. So now you can relax. But the question is, Mike Wolf, how do you define success?
To me, success. I kind of like your 3 pillars, your tripod analogy, and it's really, having all the important aspects of life all met. Having financial freedom, health freedom, good relationships. To me, that's kind of the that'd be my trifecta. That'd be my tripod. I had I think you know this, Brian. About 5 years ago, I had a bit of a health scare. I used to get gout all the time, and it actually put me in a wheelchair. The last major attack that I had, and it made me, for the first time, realize that I had kind of the money part figured out, but all those years I'd kind of neglected. I didn't really have my my health on the radar that much. And being in the wheelchair really gave me time to take a look at put things in perspective of where I was. And I just really realized that, okay, well, I got really good at making the money, but it was at the expense of my health, my relationships. And I really made some big changes. When I went vegan immediately after that and changed my diet, started to work out. I'm probably about 22 pounds lighter than I was 5 years ago. And, but also really put my family time. You know, I got my daughter now, back then I didn't have my grandkids, and I've got 2 grandkids. Just really put that in perspective and put that all at the forefront, and really just reaffirmed how important it was for me to make those changes from you know, trading my time for money and working really hard to putting that on autopilot. So I didn't have to even think about it. Like using that oxygen analogy again. You know, if you have, you don't really keep track of how many breaths you took today. I don't pay attention to that. You don't measure it because you always have an abundance of oxygen. But when you have an abundance of money coming in automatically, then you can take that out of your focus and now focus on the things that are really important, which are, you know, health, family, and as I mentioned earlier, you know, just focusing on you being happy and fulfilled. And to me, that comes from making a difference as well, not just for my family and not just for myself, but for other people. So I think that would be my best answer to that question that I can't get wrong.
And you did perfect. Again, not a single entrepreneur that I've had on this show has answered it the same way, and you just hit another one out of the park, completely different and completely correct, because it was your answer. And it's interesting how so many people will sacrifice everything they have to make money, right? I'm also guilty of that, of sacrificing my health. I've done that. I've been there too. In fact, that's why I created my business, was due to a turning point in my life where my health had gone bad, and I had been the most healthy person in my mind on the planet until that one fateful day where I got the health screen results back. And the thing is, I noticed so many people will sacrifice everything they have to make money. And the unfortunate thing is, by the time they get that money, they end up spending all that money to get their health back. And that was one thing I wanted to right the ship of. And so the Mind Body Business Show, I put that in a specific order for a reason, is to first get your mindset right. And that's not just for business. It's for health, for personal, for everything. And you program your mind at a subconscious level using a science called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And at the same time, you take care of the body, nutrition and exercise. You put those two together. I like to say the mind and body are a team. And more importantly, the mind and body are your team. Another analogy, if you have let's go back to basketball. We were on it before. There are 5 players that play at once on the floor. One of those players, for some reason, did not put everything he had into his conditioning, his training over the past summer before the next season came on. And he did not take care of himself, and his mindset, his attitude went sour. And he went onto the court, he's a starter, he's playing with the team, and he's not operating at a peak level performance. Well, if only one person of a 5-man team isn't operating at peak performance, but the other 4 are, do you think they still suffer? Absolutely. They suffer greatly. And so if you're not mastering your mindset and your body, then your business will suffer. No doubt. And Mike's just illuminated that. It's done the same thing for me as well. So I like to turn that whole thing around and say, let's take care of the mind and body before it gets to that point, and make sure it never gets to that point, so you can operate at your highest levels much quicker. And if you already are there and you're also struggling, it's okay. Start back from the mind. Let's rewind and start over and right the ship. Mike's done it. I've done it. And now you can see the result is success. So model success, follow. It's just a pattern. It's a recipe. And on that note, Mike is an amazing guy. I highly recommend you reach out and connect with him. And he is such a heartfelt, warm, giving person. And I just want to say, please reach out to him and do so with respect. Respect his time, respect his knowledge, respect his experience, respect him as a person that would be your mentor. Give him respect. Don't just come in asking for things. Can you please do this for me? Most of my viewers aren't like that. I just want to make that clear so that we honor Mike. And so, Mike, what would be the best way for folks to get a hold of you? Maybe one of your websites where you take them through a real estate program, or your coaching, whatever it might be, where you think they'd get a benefit to start with you, to start working with you. I'd love for you to give that information out to our folks here watching.
Yeah, my main business is called Mike Wolf Mastery. So I have a website called MikeWolfMastery.com. I also have a YouTube channel, If you Google YouTube and Mike Wolf Mastery, you'll find me. And the one thing that I actually don't delegate that I do myself is I answer my own emails. So you can actually email me, and you're going to get me at mike@mikewolfmastery.com. And it's Wolf just like the animal. So very easy to remember.
Sweet. And thank you so much. I just brought the webpage up on the screen so you'll know when you've seen it. I love that logo. That is awesome.
Thank you.
I see all your posts on Instagram. And, listen, Mike just said if you email him, he will respond personally. I know very, very few people that would do that. Very few, especially at Mike's level. So definitely take advantage of that. Thank you, Mike, for being so open and willing to do that. Go to his website, hit the contact button there as well. And I noticed on his website he has Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram links at the upper right. And just go connect with him on every single one of them, because you'll never know what will come out of one channel versus the other. I love your memes on Instagram, for instance, with that Mike Wolf Mastery logo. It's just they pop. They're awesome. And the quotes are phenomenal. They're powerful. I read every one of them. I'm sitting there hitting that heart. I'm wearing out that heart button. Yeah. All right. Well, that is about it. We went over a little bit on time, but that's okay because this isn't a radio station and we don't have to stop. We can go as long as we want. But out of respect for Mike and for all of you watching and listening, this would be a good time to call it a show. Mike, I'd love to have you back at a future time. I can't wait to see you again. Maybe we'll cross paths again in Arizona.
Absolutely. We'll make that happen. We'll make that happen for sure. And thank you for having me. I'm really grateful to be on your show, and it's so cool to see that you're doing some great stuff.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike. I can't wait to see you again, brother. And all of you watching, thank you for being on, for listening. Watch this again, play it back, read the transcription. Go to reachyourpeakllc.com or the mindbodybusinessshow.com, and you can find his show in the past shows section. Starting in a couple days, it'll be there. So, Mike, once again, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. And that is it for tonight. Good night, and God bless to all.
Thank you for watching and listening. This has been the Mind Body Business Show with Brian Kelly.